Hello friends, welcome to my class today. Today we'll be seeing the next topic in vital signs, that is pulse. So pulse is nothing but a beat of the heart that is felt in the peripheral arteries. Peripheral arteries are nothing but the arteries that is supplied in the lower extremities, upper extremities and the abdomen. Okay, other than the main organs, the other areas where the arteries are going, they are called as the peripheral arteries. So this pulsation is due to the force of blood into these arteries. So when the ventricle contracts, they flow the blood to the arteries. So at that time a shock like wave will be generated in these arteries. So this shock like wave you can feel like a hammering like sound or a hammering like effect will be felt on the arteries, so that you can feel with the help of the fingers, that is called as pulse. And coming to the definition, it is a rhythmic dilation of the artery generated by opening and closing of the aortic valve in the heart. Okay, so and the aortic valve is open, the blood from the ventricles will flow into the aorta, and through that it comes to all the arteries, and when the valves are closing, the arteries will be running smoothly without any pressure. Okay, during contraction there will be high pressure and then it will stop the pressure. So this like a rhythm, so with the heart contraction the rhythmic pulse will be felt on the arteries. So this you can feel by keeping the fingertips. Okay, the three fingertips you have to keep on the arteries near the skin surface. When you keep and when you put up pressure and apply pressure and feel on the arteries, you can feel the pulsation, that is called as pulse. And coming to the physiology of the pulse, so before going to physiology we have to understand the stages of pulse. There are four stages. First one is isovolumic relaxation. Okay, so this stage occurs when the semilunar valves will close. Okay, that means once the blood is going from the ventricles to the aorta and the pulmonary artery. So semilunar valves are nothing but the aortic valve and the pulmonic valve. These two valves will close and the blood flow to the heart. That is, from the arteries there won't be backflow of blood to the heart. That is called as isovolumic relaxation. Okay, so that is where the ventricles will relax, because there is no blood inside the ventricles, and the AV valves, sorry, the semilunar and the semilunar valves, that is the aortic and the pulmonary valves, will close. And next stage is the inflow. Okay, so inflow is because the ventricles and the atria are relaxed means they are expanded. The blood, that is the venous return from the inferior and the superior vena cava, will be flowing into the atrium and the atrium will fill. Okay, so that is, the atrium will fill, and once the atrium is filled, the atrioventricular valves, that is the bicuspid and the tricuspid valve, will open and send the blood towards the ventricles, and then the ventricles will expand because they receive the blood from the atrium. So like this, the inflow of blood will be there. That is the second stage. And next stage is isovolumic contraction. So once the blood is filled in the ventricles, the atrioventricular valves will close in order to prevent the backflow of blood from the ventricles to the atrium. So they will close and the ventricles will be filled with the blood and they will be starting to contract. That is called as isovolumic contraction. This is the third stage. And in the last stage, the ventricles will contract, that is called systole, and during contraction the blood will flow from the heart. So in the right side, from right ventricle they go to the pulmonary artery, and in the left side they will be ejected to the aorta, and through the aorta they go to the all the arteries, that is rest of the body, that is called as ejection. So these are the stages of pulse and the mechanism. So in this, the two stages, that is isovolumic relaxation and the inflow, will comprise the ventricular diastole period, and during this ventricular diastole there will be atrial systole, because atrium will contract and send the blood towards the ventricle. So the ventricle will dilate, diastole, that is relax, but the atrium will contract. So during which blood returning to the heart will flow through the atria into the relaxed ventricles. Okay, so that is inflow. In the inflow there will be both ventricular diastole and atrial systole. And in isovolemic, so that is the first two stages will comprise of ventricular diastole and the atrial systole, and the last two stages, that is the isovolemic contraction and the ejection, or ventricular systole. That is ejection. During ejection, the ventricles will contract and send the blood outside. So there will be ventricular systole period, which is simultaneously pumping of separate blood supplies from two ventricles, one to the pulmonary artery and one to aorta. Okay, so during ventricular systole, as I already said, the right ventricle will send the blood towards the pulmonary artery and the left ventricle will send the blood towards the aorta. So the first stage will comprise, so the first two stage will comprise of ventricular diastole and atrial systole, and the second two stage will comprise of ventricular systole. So this is the mechanism of pulse, and next is the physiology. So first, starting in the diastolic period comprising of low blood volume in isovolemic relaxation stage. Okay, so when the relaxation is there, that is in the diastole period, there is low blood volume, and when the blood is coming to the heart from the inferior and superior vena cava, there will be rapid rise in the blood flow, that is in the inflow stage. Okay, so when blood is coming to the superior vena cava, from the superior they send to the atrium, and from atrium they come to the ventricles, so there will be inflow, and that time in this stage the atrium and ventricles will have the blood, and there will be increase in the volume causing systole in isovolemic contraction. So once the ventricles are filled, then there will be contraction, so that is there will be increased blood volume which will cause the contraction of the ventricles, and once the ventricles will cause once the ventricles are filled, they will start the contraction. When they start the contraction, there will be ejection of blood. Okay, so that is the blood from the ventricles will go to the arteries, that is pulmonary arteries or the aorta, and once they pass the ejection stage, there will be rapid decrease in the blood volume. Okay, so when they decrease in blood volume, that means there is emptying of the ventricles, because they have ejected the blood to the aorta and the pulmonary arteries. So this process will equal to one heartbeat. So one heartbeat is nothing but a pulse. Okay, so this is how the four stages will result in the formation of pulse. And next is regulation of pulse. So these are done by four mechanisms. One is sinoatrial node, which is the pacemaker of the heart, and that is responsible for triggering the impulse. Once the sinoatrial node triggers the impulse, the autonomic nervous system, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, will get triggered with the help of baroreceptors that are present in the carotid sinuses. And next, these hormones, they also influence in the regulation of pulse. Let's see one by one. Okay, coming to the regulation, first is SA node and the ANS, that is SA node is sinoauricular node or sinoatrial node, and ANS is the autonomic nervous system regulation. Okay, so SA node is mainly established by the sinoatrial node, which is called the pacemaker of the heart. Okay, so whenever this SA node is triggered, then the heart will start contracting, and thereby there will be production of pulse. So SA node mainly will trigger according to the needs of the body, like in case of any activity or stress or emotions or some drinking some beverages, or we are walking upstairs, downstairs. So like this, so many factors are there. According to the needs of the body, the SA node will trigger in a higher rate or a lower rate. Okay, and this SA node, when they get triggered, they will influence the hormones, the nerves, and all the receptors, which will cause an effect on the heart rate and the pulse. And next is the autonomic nervous system. So in autonomic nervous system, there are two things. One is parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic nervous system is triggered via the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve, and this vagus nerve will have synapses in the postganglionic cells. Okay, so ganglion is nothing but the connection between the two neurons. Okay, so one neuron to other neuron, they will start the impulse. So in the synapse of the postganglionic cells, in the sinoauricular node and the atrioventricular node, they will be, this vagus nerve will trigger the impulse. Okay, so when this vagus nerve is stimulated, there is a neurotransmitter, that is a chemical is called acetylcholine is produced, which will bind with the M2 receptors. So when they bind with these receptors, they will decrease the pacemaker potential. Okay, that means the SA node potential will get decreased, which will decrease the heart rate. So whenever a parasympathetic nervous system is triggered, there will be decreased in heart rate, which is called as a negative inotropic effect. Negative inotropic effect is to decrease the heart rate. On the other hand, when the sympathetic nervous system is triggered, same way like with the via the postganglionic fibers from the sympathetic trunk. Sympathetic trunk is nothing but the nerves that is the group of nerves that are supplied from the sympathetic nerves. So which innervate is they produce nerve supply to the sinoauricular node and the atrioventricular node. So when the sympathetic nervous system they release a hormone called noradrenaline, which acts on the beta-1 adrenoreceptors, and they will increase the slope of the pacemaker potential. Pacemaker is nothing but the sinoauricular node. So when the sinoauricular node is triggered more, they will also increase the heart rate and also the force of contraction, that is called as positive inotropic effect. Okay, so in autonomic nervous system, you must understand there are two nervous system. One is parasympathetic and sympathetic, and parasympathetic nerve is by the vagus nerve, and this is mainly responsible to decrease the heart rate, which is negative chronotropic effect, and sympathetic nervous system is through the sympathetic trunk, and their function is to increase the heart rate, and that is called as positive inotropic effect. So these two effects will occur in the autonomic nervous system, and thereby they will regulate the heart rate. And next, coming to the baroreceptors and the hormonal regulations. Okay, so baroreceptors and mechanoreceptors, these are present in the carotid sinus of the aortic arch. Okay, arch of aorta is the upper portion. Okay, so aorta from the ventricles, when they go and they form like a arch on the upper portion, it is called as aortic arch. So at the carotid sinus, these baroreceptors are present, which are sensitive to stretch. Okay, so they will identify the pressure in the arteries, and whenever there is some decrease or increase in the pressure, they immediately communicate, means they will send the impulses to the medulla oblongata in the brainstem, which is responsible for pulse, and these medullary centers in the brain are responsible for the overall function of the autonomic nervous system. So use of information feedback from the baroreceptors, they will coordinate and they will respond to the stimulation of the autonomic nerves. Okay, so I said there is a negative chronotropic effect and a positive inotropic effect in the autonomic nervous system. This negative and positive chronotropic effect are also influenced by this baroreceptor reflex. Okay, so they will identify the pressure within the arteries, and based on the pressure they will trigger the medulla oblongata to trigger this autonomic nervous system. So according to the pressures, if the pressure is more, then the parasympathetic nervous system will get triggered in order to decrease the heart rate. On the other hand, when the arterial pressures are low, then the sympathetic nervous system will be triggered in order to increase the heart rate. Okay, so this is the function of the baroreceptors. And finally, hormonal control. So hormonal control is done by a hormone called adrenaline, which is which is produced from the medulla of the adrenal glands. Okay, so you know adrenal glands have two parts. One is the cortex, that is the outer portion, and the inner portion is called as medulla. And from the adrenal medulla, there is a hormone called adrenaline is stimulated, and these are released in the bloodstream. So whenever there is any stress, this adrenaline will be released, and when they are released, they will cause so many effects in the body, and one effect is to increase the heart rate. This is the hormonal regulation. Okay, so these are the four regulation that takes place in case of pulse. Characteristics of pulse. So there are rhythm, rate, force, equality, volume, tension and form. So you will see one by one. So pulse rhythm means, so it should be regular, meaning that the frequency of pulse felt by the finger should follow a equal pattern, sorry, even pattern and a equal intervals. Okay, so if a pulse has irregular rhythm, then we have to see whether it is regularly irregular. Okay, that means we get 3 regular beats with 1 missed beat, and this is keeping repeated in every beat, or if it is irregularly irregular. Okay, that means you cannot identify the rhythm. Okay, sometimes it will be sometimes there will be one beat coming, then one beat is missing. Sometimes 2-3 beats will come, then 2-3 beats may miss. Okay, so like that there will be irregular pattern. So you have to identify the pattern while feeling the pulse with the help of the fingers. And next is pulse rate. So pulse rate is counted by starting at 1, which will relate with the first beat felt by palpating the fingers, and from the first pulse for 1 minute you have to keep on counting the pulse, and how many pulses coming in 1 minute is called as the pulse rate. Okay, and this will depend according to the age. So in case of newborns, the pulse rate will be 99 to 149, and infants, that is from 3 to 12 months, it will be 79 to 119, and for children from 1 to 10 years, it will be from 69 to 129 beats per minute, and for older children and adults, it will be from 59 to 99 beats per minute. And well trained athletes, so athletes, because their body is very trained and they are usually keep on doing more exercises, so their sinoauricular node will pace at a slower rate, so always their pulses will be 39 to 59 beats per minute. Okay, so these are the normal rates according to the beats per minute. So whenever we check the pulse, we have to see whether the pulse rate is in between these rates. Next is the pulse force. So it is nothing but the strength of the pulsation. So with how much strength the blood is flowing, so that you can feel with our fingers while palpating the pulse, that is called as pulse force. Okay, so this will reflect how much volume of blood is there, how much heart is functioning, and what is the cardiac output. It is nothing but the amount of blood ejected from the heart is called as cardiac output, and that is in 1 minute how much blood is ejected from the heart is called as the cardiac output, and the elasticity of the arteries. Okay, so these all will determine the pulse force. So while we find the pulse force, we can see how much hard the heart is contracting to pump the blood outside the heart, and how the circulatory system is functioning. That all you can identify while checking for the pulse force. Okay, so this is recorded using a 4-point scale. That is, if 3 plus, then the pulse is full and it is bounding, and if it is 2 plus, that is normal or a strong pulse. When it is 1 plus, it is weak, diminished and thready pulse, and if it is 0, that means there is no pulse, or there is pulse is not at all felt. And next, coming to the pulse equality. So whenever we are checking the pulse, we have to check at equal time on both the sides of the body. Okay, like in the right side and left side, there are radial pulses. When we are checking simultaneously on both the right and the left radial pulse, we have to keep our fingers and check the pulse in order to see whether on both the sides the rate, rhythm, the force, everything are equal. Only in case of carotid artery we must not check simultaneously, because carotid artery supplies blood flow to the cerebrum. So when we keep the finger simultaneously, there will be decreased cerebral blood flow, which can affect the functions of the brain. Okay, so except carotid artery, all other arteries we have to palpate simultaneously on both the sides to see how much the equality of the pulse. And next is the pulse volume. Okay, so it is the degree of expansion displayed by the artery during diastolic and systolic state is called as volume. Okay, so by how much blood is expanding, how much the blood vessels are expanding, the amplitude, the size of the pulse, everything can be identified with the help of a pulse volume. And next is pulse tension. Okay, so pulse tension will correspond to the diastolic blood pressure. Okay, so that is low tension is called as pulsus mollis, which means the blood vessel is soft and there is impalpable between the beats. Okay, so in between the beats how much pulse is there, okay, the tension you will identify. So in pulsus mollis there will be impalpable beats in between, and if there is high tension it is called as pulsus durus. Here the vessels will be very rigid and even in between beats you can feel the pulse. Next is the pulse form, or it is also called as contour. So it is a palpatory estimation of the arteries. Okay, so if the quickly rising and quickly falling pulse, then it is called as pulsus celer, which is seen in aortic regurgitation. Okay, so this is a condition where the blood from the aorta will go, sorry, from the ventricles will go to the aorta, and some blood will also backflow because the aortic valves will remain open. And another condition is slow rising and slow falling pulse is called as pulsus tardus. It occurs in aortic stenosis. Stenosis is narrowing, where there is narrowing of the aorta, then the only smaller blood will go into the aorta. So slow rising and slow falling pulse is called pulsus tardus, and quick rising and quick falling pulse is pulsus celer. This you can identify. So your contour should be normal, that is it should like gradually rise and gradually fall. But if there is a quick rise and slow rise, then means there is some problem, that is aortic regurgitation or a stenosis. So next, coming to the factors affecting heart rate. Okay, so first, age. According to the age the heart rate will vary. So this I said in the previous pulse rate itself, according to the age. Okay, like in infants, newborn, adult children, there are pulses will vary. And gender, so females will have high heart rate than compared to males. Okay, so usually females have more muscle mass, and due to the increased body size etc, their pulse rate will be more than compared to males. And body size, okay, so person with a obese body mass or is fat, there will be increase, there will be a slightly increased heart rate when compared to person who are lean, that is with the less body mass, they will have lesser heart rate. And emotions and anxiety, so whenever there is more emotion and anxiety, they will trigger so many hormones which are responsible to increase the heart contractility. Whenever heart contractility increases, the heart rate also increases. Okay, next is weather or body temperature. So when the weather is too hot or cold, the body will senses the thermal stress. So when the temperature is above 70 degree Fahrenheit or below 35 degree Fahrenheit, the heart rate will increase at least 2 to 4 beats per minute. Okay, so even if it is high or low, there will be difference in the heart rate. And exercises, so mainly when we do exercise, the like walking upstairs, the heart rate will increase. When we walk downstairs, the heart rate will decrease. And dehydration, so when the body is dehydrated, the blood will become thicker and the waste products all will be building up in the bloodstream. So the heart will contract harder to maintain the cardiac output. So there will be fluid loss of 3% of body weight increase. So at that time there will be increase in the pulse rate. Okay, so this is like a compensatory mechanism. The heart will beat faster in order to increase the fluid volume in the blood vessels. So at that time patient will have a increased heart rate. And next is medication. So there are medications which can decrease or increase the heart rate. So like beta blockers, they give during hypertension etc, they will increase the heart rate. And thyroid drugs given when the thyroid is not functioning properly, that will increase the heart rate. And beverages like taking coffee, tea, alcohol, nicotine, tobacco, soda, so these are all will cause vasoconstriction. Whenever there is vasoconstriction, the heart has to beat faster in order to move the blood through the narrowed arteries. So there will be increase in the heart rate. And any recent illnesses, they can vary the heart rate. So according to the illness, if there is tachycardia, there will be increased heart rate, and in case of bradycardia, there will be decreased heart rate. So this is about today's class. I hope you would have understood my topic. Please like, share, subscribe and click the notification button. and also stay tuned for regular updates of my videos. Thank you.